All right, here we go again. So if you look at the one officer with his hand on his hat, I couldn't tell if that was a gator or his beard. It looks like it's his beard. He looks Islamic to me, and it would make sense that a community, if he is, it looks like he's a community relations guy based upon the uniforms around him, similar uniforms, and he would be the one of the Islamic community relation guys, I imagine. So when we look at him, he probably receives more discrimination for the way he looks as far as being Islamic, if he is Islamic, than the other guys do. Because they blend in. There's a million guys with that kind of hair, as we see the guy with the bomb there. So New York is obviously probably using, as community affairs officers, Islamic officers, which makes sense. This is a little bit more encompassing. So when we come up on this type of thing, you can't, I don't know where the legal lines are as far as bringing in chaplains, Islamic chaplains, and Christian chaplains, and volunteer. Again, if they're like an informant type of thing, they volunteer, and that's how it works. And there is legality, and I don't know if they get injured, whether informants, in some places they get paid, some places they don't. But you might be able to list the aid of the chaplains. Now, what the chaplains, and again, they're probably doing this inside their mosques to a certain degree, but we need to probably amp it up. Well, the community relations guy can't do what we need done, but he can, we can use that person. Well, what we needed to happen was for people to interact with that man. Islamic people. Now, I don't know what the backstory is to that person, but it does look like that he was following ISIS. So you can't, say that somebody with long hair is ISIS if they're Islamic, but because it's affiliated with a radicalization movement such as that, including a couple others, then that would be just another thing to kind of look at and say, well, this person has long hair, they're Islamic, they're planning on going to that thing. See, I don't know what your prep work was. And you may not have had much prep work because you were focusing on something else. Again, if law enforcement doesn't do everything that's needed, it doesn't mean that they're deficient. It just means they have a lot of work to do, and that one got by. So we know now to look for this. Now, the other guy had shorter hair, but he looked more of actually a less radicalized person. I have no idea what they thought they were going to do. Essentially, he thought he was going to kill all those officers and himself, I guess, right? I mean, building an IED takes some level of skill. You can't just generally go online and make it work. But maybe, maybe it's just inches away. I don't know. It did contain explosive material, which is of grave concern to everyone involved, including his mother and his father. See, that's the point. We need to get to a kid like that before it gets to that point. So some of the lawsuits about cops invading privacy and stuff, it doesn't serve the people that are suing them sometimes. That kid's parents wish somebody would have busted him before he did that, and maybe talk him out of it. So that's, again, another thing in law enforcement over the years. Cops were never worried about how many people they arrest back in the day, like in the 1970s. It wasn't such a big deal. I mean, it was a big deal, but not a big deal. Even when there's no quotas, there's an unofficial quota. It's the way the culture developed. Again, we are changing a little bit, but, well, the fact is, a lot of officers believe that they take the person to the consummation of the act and then they arrest the person. I would tell you, God would prefer that you cause that person to move in the other direction, repent, or whatever it is. Which is probably better for the entire world. Eating some ice cream here. Right. So we have to build religious investigation units, not just community affairs. So we have to have a team of people that includes community affairs, includes detectives, includes the clergy. And we save people like that kid before he gets there. And you might be doing it to a certain degree. Again, something so simple, but what was missed, and again, is there a world where we wouldn't miss it? The long hair. Now in New York, he could pass for a Spanish guy with hair like that. And they're everywhere. But if we see the officer, and I don't know if he is Islamic, but he looks Islamic. Looks like a mom to me there. Officer Imam of community relations. We need more interaction. I've told Trump for years, you don't want people on the street like that. And you Democrats shouldn't want them either. Right. I believe in Woodstock. It's drugs, that's bad. But the concept of Woodstock is valid. Go find some place where nobody's at and have a concert. Again, they tried that in Israel and they got killed, right? So the young Jewish people were somewhat correct. But again, they were heads in the clouds because they don't understand how it works. It was already unsafe. Back when Omar and Bush and Condoleezza Rice were trying to bring Fatah and the Palestinians into a new world, there was too much opposition. That's when you could have went to the Negev desert and had a concert. And Satan doesn't want peace. Well, if you're the power people, you can change the people out of power. And I believe at a certain point, Israel chose to hate people that hated them. And there's consequence for that. Let me explain that better. Not everybody would hate Israel if Israel divided and conquered with civil affairs. In fact, I believe the answer the whole time was to embrace Fatah like we were. Now, that first point, there was no Hamas there. They were out of power. Now, when they moved into power, I still believe Fatah was the answer. Use civil affairs to bring the Fatah faction closer. And then take out Hamas with Fatah. There was enough going on by 2016 or 17 to do that. Even before that, probably. Because Hamas was dirty. Well, as Palestinians, Fatah had an authority to end that. And the psychology and the psychological effect of Fatah and Israel working together would have been awesome. That's enough ice cream there. Good for your stomach. Find the lowest fat ice cream you can. It's good for your stomach. Or saturated fat is really what's important. So we have some things moving, but it's not obviously it's got through. And again, things can get through. It's a big city. Well, there's no reason to be bothered by what other people are doing if you believe in God, as far as acting out physically. Because God will get them, correct? Now, it may not feel good because God doesn't get them till they go to hell, but you shouldn't be committing crimes. We have to study that guy's entire life there to see if where the radicalization came from. So again, we might find that there's something going on in a mosque somewhere. Oh, I guess he was running, so he thought he was going to get away. He killed all the cops. No, so the M80 was being used like a blasting cap. Yeah, I'm not familiar with this. Let me see what it is here. So the question is, was it really? Did it succeed to be that? Would it under any circumstance have exploded? That's one of the questions. That doesn't mean he's innocent, obviously. You got to find out where he figured out how to make that. Might be online. You may have Googled it. That sort of came up. Oh, it's undetectable too by standard device. Oh, they have newer ones. Okay, they use that in London attack. Now, problem is that's in the news. You want to try to minimize information about the explosives used because it's a homemade explosive. Right? We don't want copycats. And then you got to look for copycats. She's having ideations. Right. See the finger. Right. So the other dude was definitely conspiring with him. So yeah, so just try to develop your units so that I wouldn't say it's more inner option because you may have inner workings working, but like in some place like that, we want to see if we can get Muslim people on the street that will work with us, and they can start interviewing. Just start talking to them. Again, I would talk people out of any type of violence, uh, in that type of. You can do it without violence being known. Again, so the idea is, again, it's like saying somebody's name. So you say, well, there's no reason to be violent here. So, I just, if you bring in a couple of moms or whoever you're going to bring in, I don't know, what rank Islamic person you would bring in there, maybe even everyday people that just are, have a big history with the religion, working as a lay person or something, and you have them start interacting with the crowd and just say it. There's no reason to be violent. You might jar their mind a little bit. So it best to be used like an imam or something like that. Probably to gain some more respect. Right. So let's see. Anti-terror imam in New York. Do we have any? Yeah, they talk about the surveillance of Muslims. Well, you have to surveil everybody, even Christians. So again, Well, I don't. The question is whether, and you have to study if the mayor being Islamic. It's not the mayor encouraging it, but did that play in? Is that starting to play in? Right. Because then you need the mayor to do some stuff and say some stuff. Right. I'm just trying to find if we have. I mean, they don't agree with the one group. They were always good. The Amidah community or something like that. Amidaya. We did use them. I think it's the Amidah. Oh, wait, no, wait, that's for Judaism. No, it won't come up. It's something like that. I'm finding that Google's not acting the way it's supposed to. So somebody might be trying to restrict my ability to do research. Right. I believe it. Google's trying to go against Trump. So, well, we need to get people out on the street to start talking to these people versus just not just. Boy, this is crazy. This Google's not working. I've been noticing that for a while. Yeah, let's try this one. They're actually hated by other Muslims in other countries. I'll try to go in this way. Yeah, something's blocking it. There's no way that I can't find it. I think Google's corrupt right now, twice as corrupt as they were last year. They're up to something. That search should have revealed it. I'm not that far off with the name, I don't believe. Let me try my phone, see if I can answer that. All it takes is somebody like a Brennan crony get in there and start running a scam inside Google, and he'll take over, and everybody will be afraid to stop them. Islamic community we used around 2010 to fight terrorism. See, it just keeps going in that direction. That doesn't make sense. That helped the FBI and DOJ fight terror. It's a offshoot sect. None of us coming up. You know, they may have put in there to try to radicalize me anti-Muslim. Right. That's what it looks like to me. So they tell AI only certain things will come up in my searches. Now it came up. Of course, it comes up now after I say something, right? Ahmadiyya, that's what it is. We use them to help. They are oppressed in several countries. Currently, the community is led by its Caliph, Mirza Masroor Ahmad. They're the ones that help. You saw them in the news all the time, talking about the Quran and how these people are full of shit. Al Islam, that's it. So you need people like this on the street. As far as Islam is concerned, it categorically rejects and condemns every form of terrorism. It does not provide any cover or justification for any act of violence, be it committed by an individual, a group, or a government. I most strongly condemn all acts and forms of terrorism because it is my deeply rooted belief that not only Islam, but also no true religion, whatever its name, can sanction violence and bloodshed of innocent men, women, and children in the name of God. Reference murder in the name of Allah by Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmed, fourth successor to the promised Messiah. Well, I hit the link, it didn't come up, so that's not good, right? But they're the ones that can help you. Right. I'm sure you have people in New York. True loyalty to one's nation. They have some perspectives on jihad. So again, there are some mainstream mosques that also have such things. I'm trying to see where this thing is. It's not coming up. It's a PowerPoint. It's not working. Let me open. There it goes. It's working. The Arabic word jihad, meaning striving, has come to denote any campaign made for principle of faith. Expansionistic and imperialistic wars waged by Muslims have also been called jihad. It is not a mandatory pillar of Islam. Spectrum of jihad objectives. Oh, yeah, missing precondition. The fundamentalists misinterpret the verse as a call for establishing Muslim hegemony over non believers. The contextualization of this verse is difficult since the verse appears without any surrounding verses that could provide any immediate context, but 9:13 asks Muslims to fight those who broke their pledge and attacked Muslims first. It must be understood in conjunction with other verses delineating the Quranic rules of engagement. Right. So that's what they go through. Again, I knew this existed without reading their stuff. there's a code of conduct in Islam, and these people are outside the code of conduct, so they're not allowed to wage war. Right? So again, you have to just get some people out there on the street. There should have been some friendly imams out there talking to them, getting a feel for it. Maybe even saying, "Hey, there's no reason to ever do anything violent. We understand you're all here to observe, right?" You know, get people out there with the gift of gab. Let's see, Al-Islam, New York. It's a little difficult because, if they're ISIS, these people would be considered blasphemers and whatnot. Richmond, Kensington. Wait, is that Philadelphia? That's Brooklyn. Those are great. Yeah, it looks like they're all over New York. Generally call it Al-Islam. It's probably where they were helping us most. Look, something's blocking me from. Let's see where else we go. Nur al-Islam Society Masjid. Institutions. Right, you have to check in. You have to check in with your Islamic leaders and see what you can put together. That's probably going to be your best strength. Again, we can't discriminate against long hair, but we can advise that are we seeing an uptick in people that have an appearance that is possibly related to ISIS. Generally, the mosques try to shun that stuff. I don't know where it is now. It could have went backwards over the years, but they used to immediately turn them in because they don't want to lose. They don't want something to happen and they lose their ability to worship freely and people are on them. And right, it actually ruins it for the honest Islamic person when these things happen. But again, when Israel attacked the Gaza and killed all those children, it destroyed a lot of what work we did to reverse that. Again, you can say that children are going to become terrorists, but there's a system for all of that. Again, I believe civil affairs can stop it. But if you're the person that feeds them and takes care of them instead of harasses them, then why do they even want to talk to Hamas? Right. I believe it was a big psyop to get them to go off. Maybe not planning that big of an operation against Israel. And again, I brought up something, and then other people began speaking about that were Islamic. The idea that, on the surface everybody says no, but deep down you say yeah. So you have to check that one again. Is there an undertow of turning a blind eye to that type of behavior? So engage the Islamic community, get a feel for what's going on. I mean, I'm sure you always do it, but I think we need to develop a larger team for something like that we needed to have imams out there on our side working the crowd or whoever. Again, imams would be preferable, but you have a couple of imams and maybe 5 or 10 Islamic people, have a couple of Christian preachers and 5 or 10 Christian people, just checking in with everybody that's there. And if somebody is antisocial to their work, again, they might think they're cops, but again, if they're antisocial to that, then that does say something that we might need to look at. Those cops were totally unaware of what was going to happen, and again, if that explosive had went off, they would have been dead. Now, I can't understand again, it may be divine intervention. What caused it not to go off? Because the M80 didn't even go off, I guess. And that may be the only thing that saved them. So when he threw it, did the fuse come detached somehow? I mean, I don't notice. Maybe there was an M80 boom. I don't know. But theoretically, no, they were intact, right? Right. So if the M80 would have worked, everybody would have been dead, or at least injured. Right. Now, he's definitely into it with that photo there. This isn't like, well, he was kind of into it. He's definitely Mr. ISIS there. And again, of course, that's flashbacks to the Sarnov, I guess it is. I mean, everything about it. All right, stay peaceful. I would increase the effort. I'm not up there, and I'm not sure what you have, but I think that guy's an Islamic community affairs officer. So you have something going. I just think we just need a bigger team, and we need to bring, like we did before, bring the imams in, bring the communities in, and when we have something like this, we bring people that represent the level-headed community. There'll be volunteers that are risking their life to a certain degree, but it hasn't stopped us before. All right, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.